If you're a real estate agent and you're tired of cold calling, door knocking, and spending money on ads, then subscribe to this podcast. We discuss leveraging the power of YouTube for your real estate business and how these strategies earned us over $1 million in GCI our first year in real estate. My name is Levi Lascsak and my partner is Travis Plumb. Let's get started. All right, well, let's get started. So this is YouTube for real estate. However, today we're talking about modeling versus copying, unique brand building strategies or unique brand building and fire strategies, I believe, according to the emoji we have in the title today. Fire strategies. This is, I think, a great topic for discussion and conversation because this is just something that I think a lot of people, whatever business they get into, whatever industry they get into, sometimes feel a little lost in the beginning. And, we know I share the stats whenever I do, speaking engagements or presentations, webinars, things like that. I always talk about the reasons agents fail. They say 87% of agents fail within the first 2 years. And I was like, why is that? Well, when I looked up the stats, what I found is the average agent starts with less than $5,000 to their name. And this is for the real estate space. But I would tell you what, there's business owners out there that have started with less than $5,000 for sure. Who is it? I just was listening to somebody yesterday that said they started their business with like $700 or something. I don't know, and now they're a billionaire, but and that can happen. But the thing is that in the real estate industry, whenever I looked at the stats, most agents come in with less than $5,000 to their name. A lot of people get into the business because they've just had a major life event, usually in the negative, or, they lost a job or they quit their job. They were tired of doing their job, or, maybe they were inspired by somebody else and they get into the business. But, a lot of people do live paycheck to paycheck. And a lot of people, when they do make that transition, especially into business ownership, don't necessarily have a ton of savings in place, which in reality, or I would say not really reality, but in theory, you want to have a good stock of cash if you're going to start a business, especially for living expenses. I would say probably 6 months, a year. I mean, who knows? It really depends on how fast your business can get off the ground. And we know that through several successful businesses have taken a lot longer to get off the ground, so to speak, than let's say our success. I mean, the thing is that, our business, skyrocketed faster than I was expecting. I mean, I wanted to do big things. I wanted to grow. I just wasn't expecting it to happen the way it did. Now, of course, a lot of times people don't understand about the 7 months worth of work ahead of time with zero income and zero pay. Now, that's a really a good point to this, is the fact that when I started out, researching, and I say it didn't take us, when I started the channel, it didn't take 7 months to get a deal, but I put in 2 months worth of research first, an entire 2 months of researching. Then I filmed for an entire month, which is what I always recommend people do, as well as film a good 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance before you publish, because you don't want to just film one video and then publish it and and then let everything else get in the way, and then you never publish a second or third video, or it doesn't come out for another 3, 4, or 5 weeks. So I filmed for another month, so that was 3 months, and then it took another 3 months to get the first deal under contract. And so the first 2 deals from our channel did not close until 7 months later of me working in the business. So I worked for 7 months with zero income, from real estate, from the YouTube channel. And, this is something that I really try to stress, especially with the people that we help in our course and with coaching and everything, is that, yes, does it look easy from what we're doing right now? Yeah, absolutely. But that's the trap you don't want to fall into. It does take work. It does take effort. It does take energy. It does take time. Now, working through our course and with us, you're going to shave off half of that time. And so we know we've seen people get deals under contract in 90 days, and they start from a dead start of just working, on our course, which is amazing. So that's the opportunity of a course is it saves you time. A lot of people think the information is the most valuable thing. It is, but also it's the time that it saves you. But ultimately, having a good reserve of cash is always ideal whenever you start a business or you get into real estate, but that's just not the case. And people have done it with a lot less. I mean, I'm sure people have gotten into real estate on their last dime. I've heard the stories before, and they're now massively successful. And that's amazing. But if you can have any plan or strategy behind that, then I would say it's better to get some reserves in place. 6 months, 12 months is even better. 3 months is better than 1 month for sure. But the average agent starts with less than $5,000 to their name. Even according to NAR, on NAR's website, the National Association of Realtors, it says on their website that the average agent with less than 2 years of experience makes $8,800 a year. So what they're saying is that the average agent in the first 2 years of their business literally basically close one deal a year. I mean, if you think, and that's like a $300,000 house right there, to make $8,800. So that's another reason why a lot of people get out of the business, because I don't know about you, but I definitely cannot live off of $8,800 a year. So, the rejection. I mean, that's another reason people get out of the business. And so, if you get into the business and you have to prospect, which is, if you're starting with less than $5,000 to your name, that's going to force people into, investing their time because they don't have any money. That $5,000 is likely going to pay their bills over the next 1 to 2 months. And so, they don't have money to invest into marketing. So what do they have to do? They have to cold call or door knock or, talk to their friends and family and work their sphere and go out and meet people and shake hands and kiss babies. Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that at all whatsoever. I'm just saying that that's where people end up defaulting to because of their lack of cash on hand when they start. But the lead generation, I was thinking, I spoke yesterday in Houston, and I was thinking about this as this was part of my talk. Usually as I say, look, I think most agents fail because they're not effective at lead generation. But what I realized, because yesterday I gave a different talk than I normally give. You could look at our passive prospecting YouTube channel, and you'll see, like speaking with Ryan Serhant or at the Tony Robbins event at Build. You can see the presentation I give typically, but yesterday I wanted to do something different and really tell the backstory. And maybe we can do that on the next episode, Chrissy, is really, really get into depth on the backstory about everything that I had to struggle through to get to this point, at the beginning. I mean, 2020 was a crazy year. And even telling the story yesterday, it blew me away. And what was interesting is I have everything documented. So that's something that I've always been good at, is documenting pretty much everything. So I definitely want to talk about that maybe not next week. We're going to be on vacation next week, but maybe the week after. And, it's a lot. It's a lot to get through there. So I used to think lead generation was why agents fail, but I realized yesterday, kind of like talking through the story of everything that I went through, which people don't even know the half of it, that it's really, it is a mindset. It's the most important gear, is the gear between your ears. and if you don't get that right, then it'll be very hard to be successful. But, if you've got that gear between your ears in the right gear, then you can become effective at lead generation. You can overcome rejection. You can figure out ways to market yourself at no cost. You can work through it. You can get deals. And so, but you have to have your mind right first. So coming into this, going back to modeling versus copying, I've had a very simple formula for success over my, I'm going to say, 22-year career, even though I started working whenever I was 16. I got my first job at a clothing store whenever I was 16 years old in Stephenville, and it was called Bells. And some of you country folk from Texas will probably know what I'm talking about. Is a store called Bells. To me, it was luxury. That was because they had polo shirts there. Ralph Lauren polo. When growing up, we grew up very, very poor. My mom would take me out on Saturdays. We would shop at garage sales, and that's where I got my clothes. We never went to the mall, never went to the store, never even bought really stuff from Walmart except maybe underwear. Thankfully, my parents did not make me wear garage sale underwear. Thank you, Mom. Appreciate that. Allow me to take a quick break to remind you that we have very important links in the description below. If you want the full story of how we closed over $1 million in commissions our first year and over $2.3 million in commissions our second year, check out the first link. Also, you have the link to our #1 Amazon best-selling book, Passive Prospecting. Last, if you enjoy this podcast and you're a giving person, leave a 5-star review, please. Now back to the episode. But absolutely, my shirts, my shorts, my pants, it came from garage sales or my 2 older brothers. I was the third, I was the youngest, and so guess what? Hand-me-downs, oh my God. And so that was the thing. And so Bells, what's funny is that it was this department store, like the only department store really, other than JCPenney, and Bells was just seen as like the luxury store. But anyways, started working whenever I was 16. But that was a sales job, and I was actually hired on temporarily as a temp job to help them get the store ready whenever it was opening. But the staff liked me so much and I did so well. But at the same time, I really just showed up on opening day. That was the funny thing, is I showed up on opening day. My job was supposed to end on opening day, but I showed up in a full suit, like ready to work. And I really just kind of put myself into that job. It was funny because after I worked like a day or two and started making sales, I'd have to get somebody else to ring it up on the register because I never went, they never trained me to do that, never gave me like a code or anything. And finally the manager was like, Are you even supposed to be here? I was like, well, I thought so. I mean, I've been working, and they ended up hiring me just because I put in the work. I showed up regardless, and that's how I got my first job, and that was pretty cool. So and I would dress up in a suit whenever I was 16 years old, go after school, after high school. I'd go over there in the evenings and work weekends. So anyways, if we added that in, I could say I guess my career has been like 25 years or so. I don't know. Anyways, that's what a little side tangent there. But, ultimately the thing is that I had a very simple model for success, which is what I developed whenever I didn't realize I was developing this. It was just something that I did. But looking back over the years, it was a modeling opportunity. It was a modeling model. It was a modeling model. That's what it was. And so the thing is that, when I got out of the military initially, I came back to Dallas and I started looking for a gym. I wanted to start, making sure I stayed in shape, and I called a couple of random gyms, and I called a Bally Total Fitness, and Michael Reese, some of you may know Michael Reese, answered the phone. He was selling gym memberships at Bally Total Fitness. Now I was dead broke. I had an $8 an hour job getting out of the military. Plus, I did not manage, like most military people, I did not manage my money well during the military. And so I came home mostly broke as well. Got an $8 an hour job. And I was calling around because I was like, well, if I'm going to pay for one thing other than electricity and food, it was like a gym. That was just important to me. I was like, I got to at least stay in shape. And so anyways, called Michael Reese, answered the phone, got me into the gym, and he ended up selling me the most expensive membership with personal training on a 3-year contract at Bally Total Fitness. That was the time that they did 3-year it was like $75 a month. I could not afford that at all whatsoever, but he closed me. Michael was a great salesperson back then, just as he is now, and he closed me on the most expensive membership, and I hated myself, but I was like, well, I got to use it now, and I'd go to the gym, and I ended up losing that job. No, actually what happened was I found a different job for $15 an hour. It was called Roadway. It was unpacking 18-wheelers. But I had to do that from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. It was the night shift. And I thought that was cool. I can start going to college during the day, work that at night, no big deal. $15 an hour. I thought I was rich. I was like, $15 an hour, I'm rich. And so, I lost that job. When I lost that job, I couldn't, because I had a wreck on a forklift, actually. And so I went back to Michael because I was like, hey, man, I can't afford this gym membership. It's just way too much. Just lost my job. Got to figure something out. And he was like, why don't you sell memberships with me at the gym? I was like, what? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I'll give you a job right now. I don't know why or what Michael saw in me, or maybe he didn't see anything. Maybe he was just like, hey, I need an extra body. And so he hired me on. I was like, great. Well, I became the top salesperson in 3 weeks. And the reason I did that is I just got to work, and the thing is I spent like a day or two with Michael, listened to him on the phones. The thing is that in the gym membership days back then, at least, it was 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., 12-hour shifts, literally. I mean, it was a brutal, and it was not a gym company. It was a sales company. I mean, what they put in to sales training and how to make phone calls. I mean, that's what we did from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. We were supposed to be on the phones, trying to get 5 appointments the next day, unless we had, and then if we had those 5 appointments, those were the only breaks we could take during the day, which was actually to show people around the gym and sell them a membership. So the rest of the time you were on the phones. Well, Michael gave me the old lead book, right? The leads that nobody wanted, that had been called 100 times and were dead. And, it's just, they're worthless. Every other salesperson said, there's nothing there. There's no business. We've called them 1,000 times. And that's the book I got, just names and phone numbers. And so that was it. That's who I started calling through. But I sat with Michael for a day or two, listened to him on the phone, listened to him try to sell memberships, and I just absorbed. I was a sponge. And so I thought, well, here's what I didn't realize what I was doing is I was developing my model for success, which is who's at the top, how did they get there? It's who's at the top, what are they doing, how do they get there, how can I model that, how can I adapt it to fit my personality, and then how can I be better than them? I've always thought about how can I be better. And I'm not saying like better like I'm going to, talk down to them or I'm just better than them. No, I meant in numbers, in sales. And how can I can I beat them? Can I do better than them? Can the student outshine the master? That's what I thought first, and I don't know if I think that's just something that's been ingrained in me. I think growing up, I've just always had a little bit of a competitive spirit, but that was it. Hey, I love competition, love friendly competition, not being a sore loser or anything like that. It's all about, can I do better? And it's me, can I do better than myself? And can I do better than what's already been done? So it's who's at the top, how did they get there? Or, what are they doing? How do they get there? How do I model that? How do I adjust it to fit my personality? And how can I do better? And so after watching Michael for a couple of days, I went in there and I got on the phone. And lo and behold, I started reviving all those dead leads, got people in the gym and started closing. And I became the #1 salesperson in 3 weeks. So much that they promoted me to assistant manager after 3 weeks. I mean, maybe they were just desperate, or good salespeople are hard to come by, but I got that promotion. And so, anyways, went on from there. I remember when Michael met Jay Kinder at the lake one weekend, came back to the gym on a Monday and said, I'm getting into real estate. This was around 2002. And I said, okay, good luck. Never had any desire to be a real estate agent. So, that was it. I didn't want to be a real estate agent, didn't have any desire. So we kind of, went our separate ways at that point, but he was trying to get me into real estate. It took him 2 years. In 2004, he finally talked me into it, and I did get licensed in 2004. However, I was still in the reserves, and I got a call. I was licensed for about 1 week, or maybe 1 to 2 weeks. And I got the call, and the call was, hey, this is Captain Jones. You're being activated, and you leave. You're going to be deploying to Iraq, and you leave in 4 days. So go say your goodbyes, pack your things, and report to Fort Hood in 4 days. And that was it. So I did get licensed actually in 2004 had it for about a week. And of course, whenever I deployed, I was gone for 18 months. My license expired. And whenever I came home, from Iraq in 2006, I never renewed my license, because what I realized was whenever I was gone for 18 months, I was like, damn, Michael just talked me into being a real estate agent. I really don't want to be a real estate agent. So whenever I came home, I didn't renew my license, and I didn't even talk to Michael, because I was like, I know what he's going to do. He's going to try to talk me into being a real estate agent, and I don't want to be a real estate agent. So I went my separate ways. But I ended up getting a job at Costco selling cell phones. So if you've ever been inside of Costco and you and you see the cell phones in there, then that's what I did. What I did was, again, okay, who's at the top? What are they doing? How did they get there? How can I model that? How can I adjust it to fit my personality? And can I do better? And so I went and hung out with the top salesperson. I asked my manager, can I go hang out with the top salesperson and observe them, watch what they're doing, see how they're doing it? Because you can sit through classes and trainings and things like that, but it's something else to observe and see in person. And so that was it. So I went and met with the top salesperson. They gave me some tips, some tricks, and I watched and observed, and I thought, okay, cool. The thing is that anybody gives me ideas or tips, or I learn something, I'm going to try it usually kind of the way they did it. I'm not going to directly copy them, because this is the thing. I don't even care if people are in Dallas. If people try to start a Dallas channel, I'm like, look, as long as you don't download my transcript and then put it on a teleprompter and read it word for word, do your thing, because ultimately you have to do something different. But, I cannot stop a single person from starting a channel in Dallas, Texas. I just can't. So if they're going to do it and you want to look at my channel, well, guess what? My channel's public. So I can't control that. You want to look at my channel, you want to look at all the titles, all the descriptions. Well, you should. I mean, really, you should. And if you start making videos, I hope that you incorporate your personality and you change it up, and you give your experiences and your stories and your opinions on Frisco and Plano and Allen, versus just directly copying what I do. That is something that, yes, no, you should absolutely not directly copy anyone. But modeling is for the fact of you're just taking a look. You're taking a look, seeing what's going on. Okay, what's working, what's not working, which is what I did. Over those 2 months of me studying YouTube, I didn't just look at real estate channels. I looked at other channels like Think Media, DNIM and Nick Nimmin. I looked at creators, people that were producing on YouTube. And so the thing is that I looked at how do they make videos, try to figure out lighting or camera angles or adjustments or length or, all these types of things. I'm looking at what they're doing. I'm studying people that have done it before. And this is what Tony Robbins talks about all the time. He said the fastest way to success is modeling, somebody that's already been there. So going back to agents coming into the business with, with little to no money, then I think that's what you have to do. You have to look at, and I would really recommend it for anybody, even if you come in with a lot of money. I mean, why try to sit there and figure out real estate or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram completely on your own? Look at the most successful people that are doing it and get some ideas, but build a plan. Make your own way. Figure out a way that works for you, that fits your personality, because you want whatever you're doing to fit your personality. Otherwise, it's going to come off inauthentic. It's going to come off as fake. It's going to come off as ripping. You don't want to be in that position. To be accused of plagiarism or directly copying or things like that. Now, people can still accuse you of that, of course, but okay, it holds no weight as long as you know who you are and you know what you've done and how you've built your business. Just like, am I the first person to teach YouTube? No, absolutely not. Did I directly copy anyone? Nope. Did I look at some channels and figure out some things? Yep. Have I done it my way? Absolutely. And the thing is that, I mean, it's just like being a real estate agent, right? As far as I know, there's not a single person in here that is the very first real estate agent in the planet. So if you're not the first real estate agent, does that mean that you ripped off being a real estate agent from somebody else? Or did you know somebody that was a real estate agent and you thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I think I could do that. I kind of like what they're doing. Looks like they, have a little freedom and got their business in order and they're helping people. And I think I want to do that. So I'm going to be a real estate agent. Yeah. Well, guess what? Now you're going to model being a real estate agent. Just because somebody else is a real estate agent before you doesn't mean you're ripping them off. Doesn't mean you're directly copying them. Now, again, if you go back and you copy them word for word and do everything they do, sure. Yeah, absolutely. But the idea of, Joe Smith was the very first real estate agent. Therefore, there can only be one real estate agent out there, and that's it. That's just absurd. It's the same thing with Facebook. Well, Betty Sue is really good at marketing on Facebook. Well, you can't do Facebook because Betty Sue already does Facebook. So you're not allowed to generate business from Facebook or teach Facebook. That's not how it works, YouTube. Oh, well, Levi, hey, other people have taught YouTube before. Okay, cool. Well, no, you're not allowed to do that. Well, no, that's not the case. YouTube's an open platform. It's an open forum. I can study it just like anybody else can on this call, and I can learn it, and I can figure out my own way, and then I can make my own content. You'll not find a single video of mine that you can directly correlate to really anybody else's. Well, is there a pros and cons video? Sure. Are there other pros and cons videos? Sure. Did I copy them word for word? Nope, not at all. Came up with my own pros and cons, and we recommend people do just the same. And that's what it comes down to. So, if you're a real estate agent and then you should model somebody else. Find out who is doing what you would like to do. And this is something else. Like, video is not for everybody, okay? It's just not. But ask yourself, are you a people person? Are you a reader or a writer? Are you a phone call person? Or are you a video person? I think you've got to answer one of those four first, because maybe you're a phone call person. Maybe you don't want to be on video. Maybe you don't want to meet people in person, but you could call 100 times a day, get rejected 90 times, and then get 10 interested people and maybe 2 opportunities out of those 100 phone calls. I know people like that. I know people that love to cold call. They feel like being on the phone is not a form of rejection. They feel that that's easier for somebody to just hang up on them than to be told no to their face or to talk to a camera. And if that's the case, then figure out where you're more comfortable, and if it is a cold caller, then guess what? There's people that teach cold calling on YouTube. And if they teach cold calling on YouTube, then don't they want people to be successful at cold calling? I mean, it's just crazy to think that someone would say, hey, I'm teaching cold calling on YouTube, but you're not allowed to cold call, all right? You're not allowed to go do your own thing. That's just crazy. No, if they're teaching cold calling or if they're teaching YouTube and they're saying, hey, then I would assume they're putting that information out there for others to model and to do their own thing. So, if you want to be a great cold caller, guess what? Ricky Carruth, he's one of the only guys I know that is really, really great at cold calling. I'm sure there's a couple other agents on there, and I got to meet Ricky for the first time at one of these last conferences we just went to a month or two ago. And it was funny because he was like, oh, you're a YouTube guy, right? And I said, yeah, you're the phone call person, right? And he's like, yeah, I mean, Ricky's been in business for 20 years, I believe, and he's Mr. Steady Eddie, makes his calls every single day, and he'll tell you, man, you got to get on the phone. And that's true, because guess what? If we attract people through video, we're going to have to get them on the phone. We can't just, we have had people text us addresses and then we got those addresses under contract, but we still had to call them first and clarify and talk to them and have a conversation and get to know them a little bit better, and then also find out, what exactly are they looking for, and then get proof of funds or pre-approval. So yeah, somebody could text you and say, hey, help me with this address, which that did happen to me. Somebody directly texted me an address, and we got that under contract within 24 hours. Travis had somebody call us and say, hey, I want this house. Can you get it? I've lost 6 other homes with another agent. I'm tired of it. You always say in your videos that you don't lose deals, so put your money where your mouth is. Can you get me this house? And Travis negotiated it and had it under contract in 3 hours. And so, that can happen. But we still had to get on the phone and talk to that person. So, sales, the thing is that sales is everything that I learned in sales, how to build rapport, how to establish credibility, how to develop relationships, how to overcome objections. I read it in books. I watched it on video. Back then in 2002, when we were selling gym memberships, there wasn't YouTube. Okay. I went to actually Michael Reese took me to my first Brian Tracy event. That was the first time I had ever been exposed to self-development, self-education. And I went and I maxed out I had one $300 limit credit card, and I maxed it out. It was supposed to be for emergencies, but I maxed it out and bought like 6 of Brian Tracy's programs. It was actually big covers that had 6 CDs. It had 3 CDs on one side and 3 CDs on the other side. So one program was a 6 CD set. It's like the psychology of selling, the psychology of mindset, the top 100 closes. And I had this Jetta, a little Volkswagen Jetta that had a 6-disc CD changer in the trunk. So I'd open up the trunk, pull out that 6-disc CD changer. It was so cool. I could pop in the whole series, the 6 CDs, and close the trunk, go back in my car. And that's what I did, driving back and forth to Bali, Total Fitness. And even when I got out of the military and was working at Costco selling cell phones, when I'd drive to Costco, I would listen. I never listened to music. I just didn't do it. I couldn't tell you the coolest trendy song at the time. I couldn't recite the words because anytime I was in the car, I listened to Brian Tracy, or I would buy a Tony Robbins CD or any other thing I could do. And that's what I listened to. And so guess what? They taught me sales. They taught me the fundamentals and principles. But the thing is I had to go out and apply them. And, not all of their closes and techniques that they teach on a CD work directly in the actual process. Yes, they do, but you have to understand which close to use. It's kind of like, the takeaway close, or the optional close, or the if this or that close, or, they would have all these names for these closes. And if you sit there and try to remember all those when you're in a sales conversation, it's not. It's just you understand how to position them. But ultimately, I had to adapt that to fit my personality so it would seem natural, and I would, not come off as a robot or citing a script or something like that. And so, I learned that by listening and reading and watching, people at the time before YouTube about how to be a better salesperson. And that's what I focused on over the last 20 years, was how to be a very good salesperson. And that's what I would read. I never really needed motivation. I never needed discipline. I didn't have to read those books. I never really read books on motivated or self-help or discipline, because that's just something that I've always had. But sales skills, I always wanted to improve. I always wanted to grow. And so that's what I would buy. And so over the last 20 years, I've crafted my sales ability. Now, the thing is that, I've had 3 major setbacks in my life, or resets, you could say, military and getting sick, and then losing my business in 2020. And what I realized at that point, that's why it made me transition into what I'm doing now, and why I believe I've become so successful, is because what I realized was that I was really good at one-to-one sales, in-person sales. But also I never really had solid marketing plans, as far as a way to attract the many. In Bally's, I would get names and numbers and I would call them. Well, guess what? I could only call one person at one time, and whenever I hung up the phone, my lead generation would stop. Whenever I went into Costco, people were walking through the door every single day. Now, nobody had any intention to buy a cell phone when they go to Costco, but I would get people to stop and talk to me, and I would sell them cell phones all day long. but I had traffic coming through the door, going back to the lead generation. At Bally's, I was the lead generator. I had to make phone calls to do that. At Costco, I was the lead generator. I had to get people to stop who were there to buy 500 rolls of toilet paper to talk to me about a cell phone. And from there, I went into a pharmaceutical company. In the pharmaceutical company, I could only talk to one doctor at one time. And so what would I do? I would go to a doctor's office, figure out when they were available, when I could meet with them, schedule appointments, and sit down and talk to them, and sometimes have lunch or go to dinners. And that would be one-to-one sales. But I knew where my customer was, and I would have to go to them. It wasn't until I got into, started my financial services company that then I got into marketing there. But what was the result was one-to-one sales, because I would email teachers, send out 50 or 100 emails a day, to teachers, and I would get back a response from like 10 of them and get 5 of them booked, and that's what we did. So I marketed through email to get appointments. But when I went on appointments, I could only do at max, 5 appointments a day. And at the end of the day, when I went home, I was starting all over again. And I would have to still send out emails, still book appointments, and then go meet with them one-on-one. So whenever that all took a nosedive during the shutdowns of 2020, I just had to ask myself different questions. Over 2020, that's where I was like, you know what? I've got to figure something else out. I love sales, but I hate prospecting. I hate prospecting, which by the way, if you go to our link at the top, you can get passive, or if you go to passiveprospecting.com, you can sign up to be first to be notified when we release the book, Passive Prospecting, because that's where this whole premise came around. That's what it all stemmed from. Was I was going, okay, man, love sales, hate prospecting, tired of doing it one-on-one, and every time I go home at the end of the day, I've got to start over the next day. So I just thought, and then whenever I was making the decision to move into real estate, I was going, okay, well, how do I move into real estate? Because I don't want to just get into real estate and try to figure it out. I've tasted success before, and I'm not excited about starting from the bottom again at all whatsoever. And I want to attract business this time. I want to be able to do something that will bring in the many versus the one, because I understood how to get in front of people one-on-one, but I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to get into the business to be a transactional real estate agent, and meaning, being the person showing a home, being a person writing the contract, be a person negotiating the deal, because then I'm working at one deal at a time. Now, yes, could I do 2, 3, 4 deals in a month? Sure. But still, that would be a limit. You can only close so many deals as an individual, at least on the buy side. Now, you get listings, sure. You could stack up listings, but you can only go on so many listing appointments per month. So you're going to hit a cap. So you have to expand and grow from that. So I wanted to attract business. And if I wanted to do that from zero as fast as possible with the least amount of money possible, I knew that would be through social media. So, but going back to, going from cell phones to pharmaceuticals, in pharmaceuticals, I did the exact same thing when I got there. I said, who's at the top? What are they doing? How did they get there? How can I model that? How can I adjust it to fit my personality, and can I be better? And I asked my manager, the top salesperson was in Oklahoma, actually, which was a 3-hour drive from Dallas. So I was like, hey, Mr. Manager, would it be cool if I went up and rode with Brian for a day? Could I do all of my calls Monday through Thursday and then ride up on Friday to Oklahoma and spend a day with him, the top salesperson in the country? And my manager was like, man, nobody's ever asked me that before. But yeah, if you can knock out your calls, Monday through Thursday, then go for it. And that's what I did. And I did that with one of the top, he was a top agent in the country in Oklahoma, actually. And then I did that with one of the top agents in Dallas, another weekend. So that was it. I watched and I observed what they were doing, and I thought, okay, I could use that. I could use this. I could do this. I could do this better. I'm probably not going to do that. And so I just was able to kind of make up a little plan about how I could, model what they were doing, not directly copy, but model and adjust that to fit my personality. And I ended up becoming the number 4 sales rep out of 160 people within 18 months, which that was extremely fast in the pharmaceutical world, So the number 4 agent, that ultimately what got me promoted to the corporate office, so I got promoted to the corporate office within 18 months of starting in a pharma company. And I didn't have a college degree. That's a whole nother story, actually, is that I got that job even without a college degree. So, which, by the way, I do have a college degree, which is another story. I didn't get a college degree until I was 37 years old. Took my first college course when I was 21. 20 or 21. Took me 17 years to get my degree. Now, I've never used it, but it was just something that I wanted to complete. And I just pieced it together over the years. And it took me 16, 17 years to get my college degree, but it was just something that I wanted to accomplish, wanted to finish because I started it. And, my parents didn't go to college. My two older brothers didn't go to college. But now, my oldest brother has gone to college and he's gotten a master's degree, but he didn't do that until he was in his 40s. But he got tired of working minimum wage jobs, which is what everybody else does in my hometown. And my brother, by the time he was 40, was like, screw this. He's 50 now, but he's making over 6 figures, which is really, really good for him, and has a master's degree and works at a school, and so he's got summers off and 2 weeks off for so he's loving that, because he just wanted that simple life. But he had to go to school at 40 to get a degree and a master's, to be able to put himself in that position. So the thing is that, it's modeling. It's the same thing. When you start a job, even if you start a job, you learn from somebody else, and you probably figure out ways to start to do things better. Now, some people will just do exactly what they're told and directly copy what they see, but those are typically people that I don't know. It depends on what they want for success. I'm not going to say that they won't be successful, because they could, doing a good job and going home every day could be somebody's idea for success. So if that's the case, that's good for them. For me, I want something more, which is why I'm always asking myself, how do I do this better? How can I make this better? And how can I be better? Can I be the best? And so when I was making the move into real estate, I had zero intention of being average, zero. But I didn't know what does success look like in the first year of real estate. For me, I was thinking, man, shoot, if I could make $100,000 in the first year of real estate, I think that would be pretty good. I think that would be better than most people's first year, but it still wasn't good enough for me. I thought, man, because I'd done more than that. And so starting over again at 41 years old, I was like, that's just not going to cut it for me. I don't want to do something that's just going to get me $100,000 in the first year. Is there a way to make 2 or 3 or 4? And really, that's probably where I was thinking. I was like, could I make $400,000 in the first year? Those were the kind of the questions I was asking myself. But what I realized was that I was not going to do that probably transactionally one-to-one. And so I just had to say, okay, how am I going to attract business? And can I figure out a way to do this quickly with as least money as possible, and go from there. So the funny thing is that, after going down the rabbit hole of Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, which is what everybody told me to do, then I discovered YouTube, and I started to figure out that YouTube was a search engine versus a social media platform, and therefore if I can make content about what people are already searching for in the Dallas area, and that way I could I could talk about Dallas. I couldn't talk about everything else in real estate, because I hadn't been through a transaction with a client before. I've done some transactions on the investment side and worked with a real estate agent before that, but I kind of went through that as the consumer, you could say. So ultimately, the thing is that that's what I did, was just look at, what is there some way that I could model and then figure out my own way to be better. And also, I wanted to figure out a way to attract business and market to many versus one-to-one, and sell to many versus sell to one. to passively prospect. I didn't know I was going to call it passively prospecting at that time, or passive prospecting, but that's what was born out of it, about 6 months ago, which, by the way, our book, it will be coming out, looks like in February of 2023. Super excited about that. And that's the whole premise, is now the reason we're able to do the amount of business we did, which, yes, took 90 days to get the first deal under contract, but at the end, we didn't close a single home in Q1 of 2021. So think about that. Didn't close a single home in Q1 of 2021, and in the last 9 months of the year, ended up closing 64 transactions, $1,006,000 in GCI. $1 million in 9 months in our first year. Absolutely crazy. This year, 2022, looks like we are going to close right at 100 million. I mean, absolutely crazy. I don't know how many agents, anyone's come across that have done 100 million in their second year. And that's just absolutely crazy. And it would have been more if we hadn't had this major market shift in August. We were pacing to do 200 million. I mean, the first half of the year was bonkers, absolutely bonkers, and it slowed down significantly. Just the same for us as everyone else. And so, but we're going to continue putting out content. We're still getting calls every day, not as many calls as we were, but it's funny. At this, not really funny, but I was at this speaking event yesterday, speaking in Houston, and one of the speakers was the operations manager for the Figueroa team. And Veronica Figueroa is one of she's one of the top teams in the country, like 700 million in production as a team in Orlando, Florida. And what's really cool is that she, along with Dan Beer, introduced me to speak at Build, with Tony Robbins at the Build event in front of 6,000 agents. She was one of the people that introduced me, so it was really cool. One of the top agents in the country. But their operations guy spoke yesterday, and he was talking about this year, their lead flow is down 40%. 40%. One of the top teams in the country, down 40% in leads. But he said, here's what we've done. We've increased our output. We've increased our calls by 140%. We've increased our text messages by 200%. We've increased our emails by 185%. I mean, he had all the metrics. And then he was like, and our appointments are up 82% this year. Think about that. Their appointment is up 82% over last year. In this market, up 82%. And their lead flow is down 40%. And so what did they do? This goes back to what we've been saying. The most visible agents are going to win in this market. Now, as far as I know, they don't have a strong video presence, but look at his output. More calls, more text messages, more emails, more print mail. That's what they're really good at. And they've increased their appointments by 80%. How many of you would love to have 80% more appointments right now over last year, especially in a down market? So, those are the types of things you have to, so they're being visible. They're being visible on the phone. They're being visible over text. They're being visible over email. And that's what I mean by the most visible agent is going to win right now, is because you've got to step it up. Yes, the market has changed. Lead flow is down. People are not picking up the phone to call to work with agents right now or to ask about buying. So you have to be proactive. You have to do more work. That's what it's going to take. You have to produce more content, make more calls. That's just what it's going to happen. So the thing is that ultimately, whatever it is you want to do, somebody out there has likely done it. If you want to be the best postcard marketer on the planet, trust me, there is vlogs, there is blogs, there are books, there are YouTube videos. You can pick up a book tomorrow on being the best postcard marketer on the planet. And I tell you what, if you studied all of that over the next 60 days, I honestly believe you will be more proficient than 99.9% of the agents out there on postcard marketing. Probably most of the agents that are doing postcard marketing right now probably just copied somebody else's templates or postcards or model, and they just started doing it. They didn't really dig in. And I think if you want to be the best at something, you've got to dig in. You've got to learn it, understand it, turn it upside down, inside out, dissect it, and figure out how you can make it better, how you can adjust it to fit your personality, how you can really take it to the next level. How can you be better? But you have to take that initial investment and study it, and I say you can hyperlearn any subject in 60 days. So, if that's the case, figure out, again, who are you? Are you a people person? Are you a reader and writer? Are you a phone call person? Are you a video person? Once you determine that, then if you're a phone call person, okay, who do you want to call? Do you want to call friends and family? Do you want to call strangers? Do you want to call FSBOs? Do you want to call expireds? And figure out, I want to do FSBOs, and I would recommend one. Pick one so you can become the master at that one thing. Calling FSBOs. Okay, well, guess what? All right, FSBOs. I bet if I search right now, there's maybe a million, who knows, a million, maybe 100,000, 500,000 videos on FSBO calling. I bet you I could look at Amazon right now. I'm going to go to Amazon right now and look up books. FSBO says FSBO book. It pops up in the results. It doesn't really tell me the number of results, but I just look at this and say Simple and Sold, your number one FSBO guide, first book that pops up. The Book of Yes, Ultimate Real Estate Conversation Guide, Top 10 FSBO Objections. That's a book. So I would buy those. Real Estate Agent's Guide to FSBOs, How to be a FSBO Master, How to Sell Your House Yourself. Okay, that's How to be a FSBO. I would even buy that book, How to Sell Your House Yourself, so that way you understand it from somebody who's thinking about how to sell their house. So that's what you have to look at. But I think I just read off 8 or 9 books on FSBOs right there. And real estate prospecting FSBOs, another one. And in the middle of this is open house registration book, open house guest sign-in books, how to do the Real Estate Agent's Guide to Working with FSBOs. Okay, so now I've just gone through like 10, 12 books on FSBOs. And so if you are a phone call person and you want to be great at phone calls, pick your lane. And if that's FSBOs, I just went on Amazon, and I typically start with books, because what I would do is if those people wrote books, I feel like they're one of the top experts. And so then from there, I'm going to go and find their website, and then I'm going to find their YouTube channel. Then I'm going to find their social media, and I'm going to start digging in. And now what you're going to do is you're going to start absorbing what these 10 to 12 people all talk about doing with FSBOs, and you start to build out your plan. What you want to do. How do you want? Okay, I like that. I don't like that. I could do that. I don't want to do that. And then you build out a plan. So did you directly copy one person? No. But you learned from a lot of people, and you developed your own way, your own path. And that's all I did with YouTube. Went out there. I looked at books first. I bought about 8 YouTube marketing books. Again, YouTube Secrets, YouTube Formula were the 2 best books at the time. Passive Prospecting, I would add to that list whenever it comes out. Absolutely. And I started with those books. And then I went to YouTube, and I found, okay, Sean Cannell and Benji Travis wrote YouTube Secrets. So I'm going to look at their channel. That's how I found Think Media, Video Influencers. Daryl Eves wrote YouTube Formula. He's got an amazing channel teaching all things YouTube. And so, that's it. It really is that simple. It is simple, but it is difficult to implement. And because that difficulty comes with consistency and discipline and everything else that you have to put into building a business. And so it really comes down to, what do you want to do? And figure it out and follow the path of least resistance, which is something that you see yourself that you could commit to and you could do, and you could figure that out. So that's what I got for today. I got a couple of minutes. I've actually got a call I've got to jump on. So and we are of course hosting this live as usual, but I don't see my man Justin down there. What's up, Justin? And what's up, Justin? How you doing? Is this the real Justin or the AI Justin?
It's the real Justin. Just lurking, Levi, listening to you talk, and I think you're absolutely right. Daryl Eves that just finished YouTube Formula. and going through the companion software that he has, or that website, to kind of build the framework, you really, I mean, Sean Cannell, Benji Travis, Gary Lees, Christina Smallhorn, yourself, like Ryan Serhant. I can go through the list, the Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon, all of these people are influencing how we're creating content and kind of my unique flavor, right? But it's hard. It takes work. But just like picking up a guitar and learning to play music, you're never going to learn it if you don't start strumming the notes, right? So I'll just second everything you just said.
Thank you, my man. Good to see you. Sorry I didn't see you down there earlier. Would have brought you up sooner. I was just on my rant for a little while. So, but I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you stopping by. Thank you. Justin had me on his podcast a week or two ago, the Prime Podcast. And for those of you that have not found that, I recommend you search that on YouTube and on iTunes as well. The Prime People Podcast, I believe, right? Is that? Yeah,
I'll drop the link in the chat. Give me 1 second.
Yep. So, but he interviews the best of the best, and so I'm not sure how we made it on there, but he does have some really good conversations with people, and what I love about Justin is curious. You know, he's curious, and I think the most successful people are the most curious. You know, they want to figure stuff out, they want to understand how it works. So, you know, and they want to do better, right? I mean, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. You know, could you order some stuff online? Sure. You know, did Jeff Bezos directly rip them off? Well, I don't know, but I do know he figured out how to do it better. I mean, if you've ever seen the inside of an Amazon warehouse, I mean, think about it. I ordered something the other day. I literally within 2 hours, it was on my doorstep. Blows me away. I mean, it is amazing. Now, there is a distribution center here in Dallas, but still, you know, and it has to be at that distribution center. But to be able to order something online on my phone and 2 hours later it's on my doorstep, that is a logistical genius right there. I mean, that is just crazy. So I've got to jump on a call, though, but I appreciate everyone joining us today. As always, Justin, thank you for stopping by. Chrissy, sorry I talked so much. I didn't get to let you jump in there, but I'm sure you were probably doing plenty of things on the back end anyways. So Vincent, Jason, Armando, everyone else, good to see y'all. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. If you're interested in partnering with us to access our YouTube course and coaching at no cost, schedule a call at passiveprospectingpartner.com.